Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to also share, like, and comment.
Now, we're very shocked by this ruling because we had just been to the Chief Justice. We had just dropped other matters that were before other courts. There was a case in Kabwe. There was a matter before Madam Judge Chocho. There was a matter that was in the appeals court. We dropped all those cases. So we are surprised by the judge to throw out our case on the pretext that we had multiplicity of cases. So we are appealing on that matter. We have another matter, only one matter with the with the Constitutional Court, where our MPs, 9 MPs that were expelled by Mr. Mao Sampa, have challenged that matter because it can only be challenged in the Constitutional Court. So that matter, because of legal advice, was left to run. So the state of the party is under siege with an imposter claiming that he is the president of the party. And with these rulings in the judiciary, they seem to give him credency that is PF party president. But as you know, the entire party remains with the leadership under Edgar Lungu, the leadership under the Central Committee with Vice President Given Lubinda, Secretary General Raphael Nakachinda, and others.
You say it gives credence to Mr. Sampa. Who feels this is the right president for the party? Do you have confidence in the judiciary? I mean, you have highlighted what has happened in the last couple of months. Do you have confidence in the judiciary and how they're going to rule on these matters going forward?
We have stated that there is a shrinking democratic space in Zambia, where parliament, the judiciary, and the executive are literally under a claw of hand of the president. We've condemned these dictatorial and autocratic tendencies to control all wings of government that are designed to be democratically independent. These are institutions of democracy. They are expected to be autonomous. You have seen how our MPs have frequently been punished by suspensions, by ridicule, by rebuke, by sometimes, many times, refusing them to speak. You've even noted where time for speaking has been reduced from 15 minutes to 8 minutes, and the speaker does choose who to speak. We've condemned that. That's a trouble when you appoint party cadres. Honorable Nelly Moti is a non-UPND cadre. She was appointed to the lofty position of the speaker. She has not abandoned her partisan traits, and she has failed to rise to the position of the speaker. We fear the same. We tell the president that he should allow the judiciary to be independent. We have a lot of respect and admiration for the Chief Justice, Honorable Mumba Malila, because of his vast experience and his human rights record. But his last 3 years at the helm of the judiciary has brought embarrassment because he's allowed certain things that should not happen in the judiciary to occur. And we are also concerned to what extent is being controlled by the president. We have hope that the judiciary, as the last bastion, should be sacred and independent and autonomous, and should not be veiled or clothed with partisan feelings or partisan judgments. We've condemned the creation of the Economic and Financial Crimes Court because it was at the pronouncement of President Hakainde Hichilema. He said, I'll create the court. It's not up to the president to create such a court. And you saw quickly the Chief Justice pass a statutory instrument and create such a court. So you are creating a court for a certain people. A court should be for all. So we've condemned those moves where the judiciary...
You don't think an idea like the Economic and Financial Crimes Court is good in the sense that certain matters will be handled quickly and will not take as long as other cases we've heard of in the past?
Why would you create a court for the PF?
Chimweka.
Sorry, Chimweka. I'm so sorry. You know, when people call me Mwamba instead of Mwamba, I get annoyed, so I'm sorry about it. Chimweka, why would you create a party for the PF? I mean, a court for the PF. That's what that court is. It was created at the instance of the president with a particular focus, prosecute former PF
But
leaders.
can that be seen as a good thing, because then now you also reduce the times you'll be appearing before court and these matters being resolved within a short space of time, and it's also an opportunity for whoever goes to these courts to, if they're innocent, they will be proven, they will be maintained innocent, and this is through the information that they will avail to the courts. So don't you see it as a good
No, it has been created for PF leaders, so it's a sham. It doesn't save justice. It has been designed to punish a certain group of people. The judiciary is not designed for that. The judiciary should be blind to persons. That's why when you go at a judiciary, you have a statue of a woman. Woman presents justice, and she has a blind on her face, a cloth covering her face. Justice should be blind. Corruption should be corruption, whether committed under PF or under the UPND government. The judiciary, law enforcement agencies must be fighting crimes, not personalities. You have seen, let me give an example. The last 2 weeks, the first week you saw provinces of the UPND provincial committees speak hatred, issue hate speech, issue tribal remarks. The second week, when the PF or opposition leaders responded, they were all arrested. And none of those that had issued those remarks first, that were tribal, that were hateful, that were criminal in nature. Some were even threatening to kill the president, President Edgar Lungu. Some were threatening to circumcise him. They even declared, for example, Southern Province as no-go area. Did you see the Inspector General of Police move to arrest those cadres and those UPND leaders? As soon as any of the PF leaders then responded, you saw the stern action.
But don't you think the individuals who respond should also be condemned, and in fact should be reprimanded for responding? Because two wrongs do not make a right, Mr. Mwamba, and you know this. And for the statements have been issued, for example, your members, for a member of parliament, for example, was one of them. Don't you think that this should also be condemned?
Pursue crimes, don't pursue personalities. This is what has destroyed this country. The corruption under President Hakainde Hichilema is let go, is not attended to. We have reported acts of serious corruption at Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Energy. I myself have personally made reports, Chimweka, to the SEC. I think 5 reports, credible, even attaching documents. They've never been pursued. But for corruption regarding any official of the PF, it's pursued with fervency. Just yesterday, there was a report that 61 billion kwacha has been externalized, which is $3 billion. You will not see any law enforcement agency come near that, because I know it's new. It therefore is being done under President Hakainde Hichilema and his officials. So it's a selective nature. To abandon due process, to abandon fairness, to abandon justice, and then use these law enforcement agencies, weaponize them just to pursue the opposition, is not just. So the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, while it holds such a noble name, has nothing to do with fighting economic and financial crimes. It's a court to fight probably Edgar Lungu and his past officials.
And if the people who go to court are able to provide evidence or any information that the court needs to validate that they really are innocent, why then should it still be seen as a problem?
I'll give you an example.
I'll give you an
example.
President, go there with clean hands?
Yeah, President Levi Mwanawasa came on a noble cause to fight corruption and was held by both our people and the cooperating partners even supported him. He created an institution he called Task Force on Corruption on Plunder of National Resources. Immediately that body, which was a statutory body, moved just to target former President Frederick Chiluba and people that were deemed to be close to him. It lost relevance. It lost legitimacy. So while the ideals were lofty, that you want to recover national resources, that you want to recover plundered resources, and you want to restore what was stolen to the treasury, when you weaponize it and politicize it, that goal falls away. This is what has happened to the fight against corruption by the president. He doesn't want to fight corruption in his current government. He doesn't want to dismiss those that are corrupt, suspend those that are corrupt. He doesn't want to admit investigations to take place for those that are corrupt under his government. But yet it is corruption. when it involves any of the officials of the past government. That's our condemnation.
And we've had conversations like this before, Mr. Mwamba, several times. Governments have come in, governments have gone, and we continue having these conversations. Because if we also look at what has happened in the past, we've seen this happen where a government will come through and there will be what is being seen as persecution of those who served under the previous regime. Here we are now, and the anticipation is at a time where if people decide to give an opportunity to another political party to run the affairs of this country, we'll start to see those who've served now being followed. So where do you think this issue goes wrong? Because we cannot just blame it on the UPND now and President Hakainde Hichilema. It's been a culture that has been happening for a long time now. Why do you think the problem comes in now here?
It's law enforcement agencies trying to please the current president that they're fighting corruption when they are not. Fighting corruption requires that you fight the crime. You don't fight personalities.
So the issue is in the system.
So if I am in good books,
not the individual in power, is it?
Yes, if I'm in good books with the president, they will never attack me. They will never seize any of my assets. But as soon as I step out to criticize the president, or I'm seen with Edgar Lungu, who is seen to be the chief opponent of Hakainde Hichilema, then the law enforcement agencies move on me. What does he have? What does he do? And they criminalize whatever I have. That is not fighting corruption. In fact, that betrays the fight against corruption.
Because if you look at the past as well, when President Michael Sata came into office in 2011, we saw similar events getting to happen. And quite interestingly, when former President Edgar Lungu was president of this country, he was in good books with members of the MMD. And we saw how some sort of harmony here, and law enforcement agencies were not with the same aggression as they were previously. So meaning it's not the issue of the individual in power, the president, but more of the agencies. But then how does this work? Because it's seemingly a culture that goes beyond the presidency.
Correct, Chimweka. We've attempted as a country to insulate these law enforcement agencies, to provide autonomy and independence. For example, the lead agency in fighting corruption, the Anti-Corruption Commission, requires that such a person who's leading the institution is ratified by Parliament, and that even the Director General is also ratified by Parliament. So they have security of tenure. Even their appointment, is affirmed by the people's body, Parliament. All these are to go to ensure that they act independently. But sadly, they've acted to please the president. I reported recently that I sat down with the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission because the previous day I quoted a report from his own board which said the current Director General of the SEC is refusing to fight the corruption that has been given to him by the ministers and other officials that are related to that are close to the president or are in this government. So the Director General was very concerned and he called me for a meeting. So there are two things we discussed. Number one, I discussed the various reports I've reported from Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Energy and others that have not been, and tourism, that have not been acted upon. He brought out the issue that I saw your statement where you are saying the board is reprimanding me for failing to fight corruption. He said he was actually fighting corruption, he was blind to all corruption, and he was pursuing matters in this government and in the past government. So I said, I wait to see a day when you will arrest a current minister. I love your assurances, but I hope that you act them throughout.
You clearly stated you've been in civil service over 2 decades. You've mentioned also and agreed that this has been a culture that's beyond the current administration. But why then do you want to give the impression that this is being orchestrated by President Hichilema and those serving in government with him here?
So every new president takes advantage of the loopholes that he made. Let me give you the example of the Public Order Act. Dr. Kaunda said the Public Order Act was repugnant because it restricted people to meet and gather and express their freedom. And that time there was even a chitupa. He said he will repeal the Public Order Act. It's an old law. He didn't. He actually found it useful. And by the time we're descending to a one-party state, the Public Order Act was now used effectively to stop all public gatherings or all freedoms of expression. Dr. Chiluba came on a platform of democracy, and among the laws he targeted was the Public Order Act. It was not repealed. It had to take a matter, the Christian Mulundika case in 1998, and the Supreme Court ruling that the Public Order Act was repugnant to our democracy and that it restricted our fundamental freedoms of expression, movement, gathering, all these freedoms that are around, these fundamental freedoms, political and civic freedoms. And the Supreme Court even struck it down. The Chiluba administration proceeded to bring a fresh Public Order Act by just amending the issue of notice. Remember, that time you needed a police permit. And they now replaced it with a notice. But you have seen that in practice, the notice actually acts as permission. Because although the law says you're just supposed to give them 7 days notice, they ignore the notice and still proceed to stop you, even if the law says all you need to hold a gathering, a protestation or a demonstration or any procession is a mere notice to the police, 7 days notice. But the police still stop you as if you are getting permission. So you have governments that, when in opposition, speak very well and sometimes condemn these bad, archaic laws. And as soon as they assume office, they realize these laws are good. Let me give you another example. The Cybersecurity and Cyber Crimes Act of 2021. Other than to deal with issues of cybersecurity and cyber crimes, because it was, I think, when you look at it, it was just lifted from Kenya, all of it. It has laws regarding tribal wars. We've never had tribal wars. Kenya had tribal wars in 1997. It has issues of hate speech. Kenya had issues of hate speech between the tribes that nearly descended that country into war in 1997. So you bring that law. When it came here, Chapter 1 Foundation, John Sangwa and Linda Kasonde and others challenged that law, that it was against our constitution. The PF passed it, and now who's using it very effectively? President Hakainde Hichilema. And remember, President Hakainde Hichilema promised that he will abolish this law, he will amend and just leave it to the issues of cyber crimes and cybersecurity. Because the large bulk of contents about tribal wars, hate speech, don't belong there.
So
it's not about.
Do you think this law should be abolished?
Yes, it is. Like even President Hakainde Hichilema said he was going to abolish it.
This law that was supported by members of the.
It was a bad law. It was a bad law.
So
remember,
your fellow Patriotic Front members supported a bad law.
The trouble with this country, we never learn from history. I remember that in 2001. There was a matter of motor vehicle theft that they targeted an individual. And they passed an entire law to target an individual. They locked him up and made the motor vehicle theft non-bailable. Do you know who the first victims were? The previous government that had just passed that law targeting an individual.
So
we have now
this law was targeted to an individual.
The cyber security and cyber crimes, other than the laziness of it by the drafters, because they just lifted a law from Kenya, other than the laziness, it's repugnant because it undermines our fundamental freedoms of expression, our fundamental freedoms of thought, and all those issues should be in the defamatory law if they have to have any concerns. Zambia doesn't have tribal wars, but now you have individuals today who are expected to appear in court facing a charge of tribal wars.
I don't remember you condemning this particular law. I stand to be corrected. I don't remember you condemning this law. Are you only saying this because the PF is out of power now?
No. I've always stated what is bad remains bad. Even under my Facebook page, I condemned if there was corruption, I wrote. Sometimes I wrote many articles that many people even feared I'll be fired. A bad thing remains a bad thing. It doesn't become good because President Hakainde Hichilema is practicing it.
So if we are to
that
right
law,
now, are we going to find you condemning publicly?
Oh yeah, go to my Facebook post in 2020. I exposed that this was a law from Kenya. I did. Also, I was concerned that we had a great opportunity to fight cyber crimes and cyber security, but we're deviating to issues of speech, which shouldn't be the issue of that law. That law should be on cyber crimes and cyber security. If we want to deal with the issues of speech and how to criminalize speech, whether it's tribal wars, whether it's hate speech, we now go to the defamatory law and then reform it that way, not sneaking defamatory issues onto a law that was designed for cyber crimes and cyber security.
Let's also talk about getting back to the party. Since former President...
What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to J Cool.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.